So for this recipe, we're going to be using two of my favorite products. We're going to be using the Jar Goods classic tomato sauce and the Zersun cranberry beans. Okay, we're going to make toast today. We're going to make a cranberry bean and tomato toast. There's nothing more soul satisfying to me than a great toast, especially in the winter time. So we're going to do a little whipped ricotta. I'm going to show you how to make some preserved lemons, quick preserved lemons, so it doesn't take you, months to wait around for them. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So what you're going to do is the obvious, right? A lemon. You want to wash these real good so the skin is nice and clean. Lay it on the side. Just cut the ends off. Okay? You don't want that little tip. Get rid of that. And then again, this is up to you, but the thinner you slice it, the quicker it's going to preserve, the less you have to wait. I don't have a lot of patience. I like my lemons quickly, so I'm going to slice these pretty thick. Okay? So you can see that. It goes all the way across the lemon. You're going to hit some seeds, so be careful as you're going through this. Don't get too haphazard with it. You're going to hit some seeds. It's going to throw your knife off a little bit, but keep going through. Have a nice sharp knife so you can get through the seeds. Very important in anything you're doing. Okay. Go through. Take the lemon, put it on a piece of wax paper or parchment paper. Same way you cut it, because you're going to put this lemon right back together, okay? So lay that out. You can do as many of these as you like. Okay? Got the lemon laid out. Recipe says tablespoon of sugar, tablespoon of salt. Again, it all depends on how many lemons you're actually doing. So what we're going to do is going to take the salt, just a nice even sprinkle. Make sure you coat the whole lemon. What the salt's going to do is actually, between the salt and the acid from the lemon, it's actually going to pickle these lemons. That's what a preserved lemon is. It's a pickled lemon. Okay, so don't be shy with the salt. But I like to add another little complexity to this. When you bite those preserved lemons, they're going to be real sour. So I do a little bit of sugar. Okay. Nice even little sprinkling. Sugar. You can do 20 of these if you want. They'll last indefinitely in your refrigerator. So you want to go ahead and take the seeds out of the lemon. So once you have the seeds out of the lemon, go ahead and just put this lemon back together. So depending on how many lemons you've done, you want to put them in a container they fit tightly in, okay, that you're going to store them in for a couple of weeks. So I've got one here that I've done, because I've only done one to show you. I'm just going to cover them with olive oil. Just until they're covered. Wrap them with plastic wrap. You can do them in a Tupperware, any clean container. And I'm going to store that in the refrigerator for 2 weeks. Minimum, they'll be ready in 2 weeks, but you can store them indefinitely as long as they're covered with olive oil, okay? So that's a quick preserved lemon. We're going to use that to top our toast in just a little while. I'll show you how to do that. Now we're going to get to our toast. I like to use a nice thick ciabatta bread. You can use whatever bread you prefer. I like ciabatta because it toasts nicely. It has a great resistance. When I just cut off the end, I'll save that. You can save these scraps. You toast them up and use them for breadcrumbs. I love that. Top pastas with it. I'm going to cut it about a ½ inch thick. If you like it thicker, you can cut it thicker. So I'm going to put a little olive oil in the pan. A few tablespoons. Bread's going to soak that up. When the oil starts shimmering, that's when you know you're ready to put your bread in. Okay? You want to hear a little simmer when you put it in there. And don't crowd the pan. You have to be patient with this. Okay, so for the recipe, we're going to whip ricotta cheese. Your recipe calls for a stand mixer, but I want to show you how you can do it at home if you don't have a stand mixer, okay? So I've just got my ricotta with a whisk in a stainless bowl. Really simple. If you let this come to room temperature, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Just take your whisk and give it a good whip like that. You don't need a mixer to do this. I just like to whip it so it can be nice and silky and smooth and spreadable on the toast. It's a mouthfeel thing. If you don't whip it, it's not gonna be the end of the world for your toast. But I just like the consistency that you get when you whip it like that. I'll just add a little pinch of sea salt for that. Better quality ricotta cheese, the better quality your toast is going to be. It's that simple. You can see nice and golden brown. That's exactly what you're looking for. Okay. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. If you wanted to do this recipe in stages, what you can do is you can toast your bread, you can put it aside, and then when you're ready to complete the rest of the toast, you can just pop it in the oven about 325 degrees just to warm it up again, you know? It's another good way to get ahead if you're having a party, if you're having friends over, so you don't have to feel so rushed just to get it all done right away. This is a party toast. Now we're nice and toasty on both sides. We're going to pull those from the pan. We're going to get started on our beans. Okay, we're going to use a couple of products that I really love. We're going to start with our Zerson beans. What you want to do with these beans, if you have the forethought, is to soak them for 24 hours in water. What that's going to do, that's going to help them cook more evenly. The soaking helps them absorb the water, break down a little bit quicker. But hey, if you happen to decide on the fly, I want to make a toast with ricotta and cranberry beans and tomato and escarole, if that happens, you can cook them without soaking them, but it's just going to take a little bit longer cooking time. And you might find your beans cracking and breaking a little bit. Not a problem at all. You can do it. You do not need to soak your beans. You can cook them without doing that. I've got some here that I've soaked ahead of time, so we're going to get started with those. So I've got my cranberry beans that I've soaked. Got my jar goods tomato sauce that I love. A couple tablespoons of that. I'm going to use that to warm the cranberry beans that I've already cooked. Okay. Got my cranberry beans going in the pan. I can smell the tomato sauce already. Even though the tomato sauce is already perfectly seasoned, I still want to season this because I have the beans in there. I'm going to add the escarole. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt. A little bit of fresh cracked pepper. This is my escarole, okay? It's almost like a romaine, but it has a much more complexity to it. We're just going to let those beans simmer in the tomato sauce while we chop our escarole here. When you're working with escarole, you want to make sure you wash it really well because it might look clean on the outside, but it can trap dirt on the inside. So what we've done is we soak it in water, we give it a good shake, and then we let it sit for a couple of minutes before we pull it out of that water. So chopping that. Rough chop, doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Once our sauce comes to a simmer, we're going to add our escarole to that. We're adding that towards the end because we don't want to cook it down too much. We still want a little bit of that crunch of that escarole. And we're just going to fold that through there. Escarole is going to release some of its moisture. It's going to melt into this tomato and bean mixture, and it's become this nice warming stew. So when everything comes together, you want to taste as always for salt and pepper. seasoning. And that's up to your palate. Now remember, your tomato sauce is reducing here, so if your mixture looks like it needs a little more moisture or it's a little dry like mine does right now, add another tablespoon of sauce. That's where the fun comes in. This is cooking. Okay. Now we're ready to make these toasts. So I'm going to generally spread the ricotta on these toasts. Just make sure these toasts are warm. You don't want them to be too hot, because then the ricotta is just going to kind of melt into nothing. So nice and generous. And remember, these toasts are rustic. You're not trying to win a beauty pageant here. Your focus is for them to taste good. Don't overthink the presentation. What's beautiful about these is that they look homemade. Okay. Got the toast there. We're going to go with our bean and escarole mixture. You can see that's what you're looking for, that consistency. Now remember, I did add another spoon of the tomato sauce there, so that's all up to how you taste and the consistency. Again, that's all part of cooking. Spoon that on there, evenly on each one. Cover the whole toast so you get a little bit of everything in each bite. You've got the beans, the earthiness, the hardiness of the beans and the tomato, and the preserved lemon, which you've done ahead of time, is going to give it that acidity that's going to take it over the top. It's going to make this like a restaurant dish. And there you go. You've got ricotta toast with Zerson beans, escarole, and jar good tomato sauce.